fucking sit, babes. Start your sublight engines. It's time for BOOPalp's Podrace, a queer Star Wars podcast. Welcome back to our spooky Andor discussion, this week about Episode 8, Narkina 5. I'm Noah, my pronouns are he, him, and you can find me on social media at The Jewish Jedi. And my gender this week is, I'm so much happier now that I'm dead. Technically missing.
Oh my
soon to
god.
be presumed dead.
I should
And
have
my
predicted
lying,
this.
cheating, oblivious husband will go to prison for my murder.
Okay,
If you couldn't tell, I am Amy Dunn. I'm wearing a nightgown, and I have this little thing she wore when, spoilers for Gone Girl, she murders Neil Patrick Harris in a rage.
We will have pictures posted on all of our social media, so you will be able to see this.
Oh, Noah's wearing a wig
so
as well.
powerful.
Oh shit!
The reveal was everything. Are you kidding?
I was so excited. I was like, please, I have to just start the monologue. They'll know what I'm doing.
Also, guys, just so you know, this is our Halloween episode. So, just so you know, Noah isn't just wearing a costume for no reason.
Yeah, I do love the idea of you just showing up in an Amy Dunn cosplay.
My name is Ollie. I use any pronouns. You can find me on social media at Ollie Fresh.
And I'm Mel. You can find me on social media at Melvin Culpa, or on TikTok at Grunkle Rex. And my pronouns are they, them.
And our Halloween costume was a lot funnier on paper. We are Lux Soka.
No!
I'm gonna kill you!
Oh my god.
Oh, this is so hateful.
This is so dark.
I am dressed as Lux Bonteri and Mel is dressed as Ahsoka.
This is the greatest day of my life.
First of all, Mel is slaying the house boots down.
Slaying.
Okay, but also Ollie is also just kind of looking like what's that Theranos bitch's name? Ow.
It is me, Lux
Oh
Bonteri.
my God.
It's actually a mixture of rebellion and Onderon. So
Okay, hi, I'm Jess. My pronouns are they, them. You can find me on social media at Kawaii Jessio, and I didn't actually think of what to call myself. I'm Peli Vanto.
Pumpkin Eli Vanto.
Oh my god.
Eli Vanto with a pumpkin head, so true. I also
That's what the N stands for. It's pumpkin.
pumpkin written backwards.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh.
I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah, Jess is in their Eli Vanto cosplay with a pumpkin head. It's
I'm
so
obsessed with this.
They're fighting for their life right now, trying to switch their Zoom name.
I was trying to type my Zoom name.
Oh my god, this is too
It's
good.
so hard to see.
Hi, my name is Claudia. My pronouns are she, her. You can find me on social media at Kaludia Says, Kaludia Says. And this week, I didn't have a costume because I was traveling, but then they helped me think of a costume, and I realized it's the most common thing in Star Wars that there is. I am the collective brown-haired white woman who is every Star Wars protagonist.
Oh my god.
I didn't have to dress up because I am always represented in Star Wars.
Sort of an archetypal embodiment of an idea, a person. She's my mother. She's the sister everyone would want. I don't know a better person.
Yeah.
You're Kathleen Kennedy's manic pixie dream girl.
Yeah. I'm actually dressed as Kathleen Kennedy today. I should have put on like a pantsuit.
Okay, so today we are gonna have our Halloween episode of Andor, and what is that? Noah, Mel, wait. There's something behind you. Oh my god, it's Deidre Miro. She's here to take you guys away. No! And they're gone. Oh my god, she took them away for interrogation. I guess it's just gonna be the three of us.
Oh, well, we'll have to continue on in their memory.
That we will.
R.I.P.
Rest
I don't know why I
in
said
peace,
R.I.P. They're not dead.
All right. It's really sad about Mel and Noah.
Yeah.
But we'll go on. Nevertheless, we persisted.
Just like Bix.
Just like Bix.
So true.
So let's get into it. We're going to talk about Narkina 5 today. Does anyone have anything they want to say to kick it off? Because I know I have some thoughts.
Go.
Something that I want to talk about this show is pacing. because the pacing of this show is superb. I've seen plenty of people on Twitter talking about it, but the intercutting of Cassian being in this horrible, horrible prison experience with Mon Mothma at her little party, not to devalue the work that she is doing there, but it's kind of like when Luthen, I don't remember if it was this episode or the last episode, I think it was the last episode, where Mon was like, you know, people are gonna get hurt because of this, and he goes, oh, I'm counting on it. It's a really interesting juxtaposition because we see how the Coruscant elite are dealing with this, but then we see who the people that are actually at the receiving end of it are dealing with it. Like, I think that that's a really interesting juxtaposition, and the pacing is done really, really well. So it's funny because it's like, you know, someone like Luthen is not seeing the remnants of what is being wrought.
I think that's something that sets this show apart from Rebels, not in like a one is better than the other way, but in a style way, other than one being animated and one being for a younger audience. Because I've been comparing them a lot, but this has been, you know, in Rebels, we hear about other things happening and they eventually connect in, but we don't see them from the perspective. In Andor, we are very much switching, we are very much seeing one event from many perspectives through these different characters' B plots. That's, you know, it's a very specific kind of writing, and it's very interesting way that they did it. But also, like, is this the first episode written by Beau Willimon? I need to look it up. But these episodes, it's very clear, like, these episodes are either written or directed by people who worked on House of Cards, The Crown, and The Americans, and you can very much tell because of this palpable tension. I think I watched these episodes with my partner Claire, and we were talking about like, oh, I have such anxiety at the end of the episode, and we're like, wow, that is effective filmmaking, because that is the feeling the characters are feeling, and you are feeling that feeling as well. And it's an interesting feeling to have at the end of an episode when it's not like it's not the cliffhanger feeling. It's like the almost suspended note feeling. And I was just like, this is not only good Star Wars, this is just good television.
I want to bring up that I've seen some minor discourse. I always kind of ignore it because for the entirety of the show so far, I'm just like, tee-hee, here I am once a week to enjoy this. Now I'm gonna close my eyes to anything else anyone is saying. Close my eyes, cover my ears. But I have seen some discourse of people disagreeing with the pacing and being like, oh, this show's pacing is all over the place. And I don't agree with that. Like you guys are saying, this, I feel like the pacing of the show is just right. I think it's just because a lot of people nowadays are used to more like fast-paced stuff, like how TikToks are all like really short videos. They try to condense everything into like one episode, or like, you know, 6 episodes, like how Kenobi was like 6 episodes, or like Book of Boba Fett was like what, like I don't even remember how many episodes Book of Boba Fett was. But like now with the longer formatting of shows again, or them trying to go back to like longer formatted seasons, I feel like some people are just kind of being a little mean there, and being like, oh, it should all be like in one episode already, or like 2 episodes. It doesn't have to be this slow of pacing. But
I think something good about the pacing, like, how many times can we say pacing in 5 minutes? Someone, can we get a counter on that?
It is very funny because when there was like a sound, and then when they're like on program, which is the thing they keep saying in the episode, I kept thinking of the pacer test. When they were like, okay, like they have to like keep doing their tasks
Not
faster.
The FitnessGram
I kept
pacer
thinking
test.
of the FitnessGram pacer test. So anyway, that's a non sequitur.
Cassian Andor is going to abolish the FitnessGram pacer test.
The FitnessGram pacer test. Sorry.
But what I was gonna say is, I think it's interesting because, like we said, like a lot of people are complaining about this show for a myriad of reasons, and I think we'll probably talk about that a little bit as we go on. But I think that it's really good. Like Claudia was saying, the tension is really being built, and it's really suspenseful, which is funny because I think a lot of people equate suspense with like the more horror genre, but I don't think people realize how much the suspense is doing for their enjoyment of this show, and how much the uncomfortable nature of what's happening is doing for the enjoyment of the show.
I just want to correct my earlier thing. So this episode was written by Bo Willimon, who created House of Cards. And it was directed by Toby Haynes, who I think also directed a couple of the other episodes. But he also worked on Sherlock, Doctor Who, and Black Mirror. So, but also a lot of this show is produced in the UK. So like anybody who works in the film industry in the UK has worked on Doctor Who. So like put that aside. I just find that I find the DNA behind it very interesting.
You know, I was also thinking with the reason why some of us can like sit through this, like besides having more patience and like appreciation for story being like built up instead of like thrown quickly at you, is like some of us had to sit through a billion episodes of anime when growing up. So maybe that's why I can deal with pacing like this. Some of y'all don't get actual filler episodes that have nothing to do with the plot for like several episodes. Anime prepared me for this. Y'all are weak.
Well, and I mean, of the people who are sitting here right now, we're all, especially Ollie, Clone Wars fans, and I always say the Clone Wars is lovingly structured, much like anime.
I do like you singling me out and being like, oh, a known Clone Wars fan. I like the idea that it's like, you make it sound like that's like my favorite piece of Star Wars media.
I just said of the people on the podcast.
Yeah, like you. Well, it is, to be fair, it is because I watched it a lot as a child. But it is just funny the way Claudia just said that. Like, wow, I guess some people are Clone Wars fans. I know that's not how she said it, but it is funny. But yeah, I do agree. I feel like there are certain arcs in the Clone Wars. Like, okay, you know what arc in the Clone Wars I feel like is very reminiscent of this? Is the Rako Hardin Bounty Hunters arc.
Absolutely.
Oh my
like,
god, yes.
Like the pacing is very similar in the way that
because
it's
he's in prison?
Well, okay, yes, but also
where's white
like,
Boba Fett?
I think his name is Syril.
No, don't say that about Boba.
I need to say some things about Syril Karn. Continue.
We will, but I think that there's actually a lot of similarities there, because it's like this character that we know is meeting a bunch of other brand new characters who we don't know, and is having to go through these trials and having to do all this stuff. Meanwhile, there's the people in the High Tower on Coruscant who are debating their own thing, like with the Jedi Council and with then like Obi-Wan on the ground. Like, I think it's just an interesting juxtaposition. I don't know why that just like came to my head.
Well, I think it comes back to the idea that I kept thinking about with Andor of like, this show brings Star Wars, like, it is the most it brings Star Wars back. Like, I saw someone on Tumblr talking about how, like, when they were a kid and they watched Empire Strikes Back for the first time, one of the scariest scenes is when they torture Han Solo, and he's like, and Leia's like, what did they do to you? What did they ask you? And he's like, they didn't even ask me any questions. And it really, like, brings Star Wars back to that and how like real that was and what that meaning was. But we know that there's stuff like that in the Clone Wars era and stuff like that. And it's also interesting because this episode was the first time we had known characters show up. Other than Cassian himself, we had Melshi. Shout out to Melshi from Rogue One. But we also had Saw Gerrera. Saw Gerrera Nation. We need to discuss Saw Gerrera.
No, we're winning. We're winning, guys. We're winning.
This is the first time Saw Gerrera has been respected properly on screen in a long time.
Literally.
Possibly ever.
Okay. No, because this is so funny. When Luthen was giving his little speech, I kept saying shit like, oh, okay. And then Saw would say the exact same thing 2 seconds later. I was so excited. I was like, my homeboy is here and he is serving and he is exactly who I know he is.
He's sliving. Also, so I mean, we talked about this a little bit with like Nemec's little speech and their little thing, but for them to bring back up, and he was like, for them to bring back leftist discourse as a continuous thing, where he's like, I don't think these bitches are gonna want to talk to each other. I was like, I love how they're consistently like, yeah, the girls are always fighting. And when I was like, did they just make a joke about anarchists in Star Wars?
No, okay, when Luthen's like, oh, well, it must be nice having the privilege of being an anarchist. So I was like, I live in a fucking cave. Like, why do you think I'm privileged right now? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Forrest Whitaker deserves an Emmy for the look that he gave him after that, where he was like,
no, seriously.
He was like, be fucking for real right now. He was like, do you want to know what happened to my sister on Onderon? Because I will fucking tell you right now.
This is another thing I love about Saw. Luthen, I feel like this whole time, I was saying earlier, is like, I think that Luthen makes a lot of very good points, like very interesting points about saying, like, in order to spark a rebellion, the Empire has to press down. Like, we need to incentivize them to start showing their true colors so that we can get people to join the cause. But that does, like, the people on top are often being like, well, in order to make an omelet, you have to crack a few eggs. And those eggs being, like, regular people who are facing the effects. So Saw being like, hey girl, are you dumb? Like, I respect that you're doing that, but also, like, let's play a game called Think of the Consequences. You are in your little ivory tower, my homeboy. I don't know.
What's interesting though is that traditionally Saw has been that character, whether we are in books or whatever, to be like, yeah, I want to provoke the Empire. Literally, I want to provoke the Empire so people will start to rise up and that kind of thing, and I don't care about the consequences. But he's coming at it from a different perspective than the Luthen thing of like, well, when you look at it from above kind of deal. And it was very interesting to see like him. It was interesting to see Saw kind of object to it, not just because of the moral thing.
Seesaw?
Object to it because of the moral thing, not just the moral stuff, but for him to be like, I don't think that's an effective strategy. Like, and I said this about Mon Mothma last week as well. Like, yes, they both have their moral things. For her, she was scared because she was like, she has her moral reservations, but then she's scared because she's like, I've been operating in the shadows so long and this could put everything in jeopardy. For Saw, he's also a strategic person, and he's like, he's been doing shit like that for a while, being a guerrilla fighter and pissing people off. And he's like, I don't know how well that's gonna work for you, because I don't cite the deep magic to me, witch. Like, he literally was like, I have been doing this for a bit. Like, I also like that he was like, yeah, I know how this works. I know more than everybody. I felt so validated because Saw is always that character. We talked about this in like our first couple episodes when we had the remember when we had the spectrum of like characters who know what the fuck is going on in Star Wars from like
oh my gosh,
Maul to Saw.
Yeah, I do remember that.
The Bendu, yeah.
Yeah, and then he literally says it in this episode. And I will say, and it's also like a part of the irony of like, we know Cassian dies because of the Death Star, and we also know that Saw is one of the only people who figures out the Death Star before it happens, other than Thrawn. So, and I have a theory that the things that they are building in that prison are a part of the Death Star. It would be quite poetic, probably.
See, okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. Mel did look and was like, those look like AT-AT feet. And that's what I thought they were as well.
They look like structural supports to me.
I feel like it could be anything at this point.
They look too small to be AT-AT feet.
To be fair, why are you looking at AT-AT feet so much?
Speaking of feet, there was so many feet in this episode, and I'm so glad everyone collectively is just like, put those grippers away. What's happening here?
No, because when they did start taking their shoes off, I was like, they're gonna do that for free?
Diego feet for free? Damn. Thanks,
I want to know what's fucked up in Tony Gilroy's mind or in Beau Willimant's mind that made them think of this concept for a prison. I'm like, unless you got an inspiration for it from real life or whatever, like, there is something fucked up in your brain. Like, incredible storytelling you're doing here, and like the metaphors and etc. And there are things that are real that are sort of like that as well. But like, what the fuck is going on in your brain to think of that one? Holy Jesus God.
Yeah, like freaking fucked up floor that will like electrocute you until you possibly pass away. Also, I know it's like This is really dumb when they first came out wearing their little padded shoes. They look nothing like moon shoes, but my brain was like, oh my god, moon shoes?
They were moon shoes.
I literally said, Empire moon shoes.
The slow horror of watching them be like, okay, take off your shoes, and then seeing the other one, the other ones, the guards all wearing special shoes, and then being like, okay, and then him being like, oh, we treat people well here and whatever, and we just do one thing here, and like how they stretch that out, and you're trying to figure it out in your brain, and they're like, yeah, so we just electrocute the floor, and you're like, whoa, like they take the floor out from under you, just like they kind of do for the characters themselves. And I felt that like long stretch of like puzzlement the same way that Cassian did, and we watched Cassian disassociate in real time. Shout out to the acting there. Jesus Christ.
All of them, like we've said this before, all the actors in the show are like acting their asses off, but especially like Diego Luna, because like I really felt Cassian in that moment of like, I am in a bad situation and I'm just gonna recede into my own head because this is a bad place. This is literally the bad place.
Andy Serkis is like, I don't have to be in a mocap suit. I am going for the jugular with the acting. I was like, holy shit.
Because I have been saying this, Andy Serkis is an incredible actor, and I think people always think of like, oh, he's like the guy who does all the special effects, and he's fucking amazing at that. But he's also just like a really good actor. Like he really, I feel like Andy Serkis also like really got this role. Like he understood the assignment. He knew what he was there to do and what he was trying to get across, and he did it fabulously. Like, you really do get, I think a really big thing in this episode is it shows how oppressive systems play oppressed people against each other to maintain power, and Andy Serkis, like, bodied that energy.
They really hammered home this is an Amazon warehouse. I mean, it is also prison labor, but, like, this is an Amazon warehouse. It was, I need people, I said this when I was a guest on Graphic Policy Radio, but I was like, guys, I need you to understand, yes, the Empire is Nazis, but they are mostly the United States. I need people to understand that, because just because we don't have prison labor that looks like this, it is literally this. Like,
Oh, you saying Amazon? As someone who did briefly work at Amazon like a couple years ago, yeah, you're right. It's just like you have to get a certain quota of things done as fast as possible, or you get in trouble. And oh god, now I'm going back to a bad place too.
Jess in their Cassian era?
Oh my god, Jessian?
No.
No, I think that it really does do a fabulous job of getting across, like, it's also, like, it really does get across that, like, almost, like, the anxiety and the, like, when Cassian dissociates and starts, like, kind of getting into his own head, you really, like, it almost, like, tricks you, because when he starts doing that, I remember I was watching and I started to get, like, angry at him, because I was like, Cassian, your whole team is gonna, and then I realized that that's, like, the point, is, like, it's actively pitting you against him and pitting him against them and pitting everyone against each other. And it's like, it's a very brilliant technique in both direction, writing, and acting.
One thing that I really have liked about the production design is very purposeful in this show. I think production design is a big piece of what makes Star Wars really great in general. And they have really just continued that here. But I mean, a big thing a lot of people have pointed out is like for the prison, it is like stark white. It is meant to make you feel like you are out of time and place. You have no access to the outside world, really, and it's like meant to make you feel crazy. And what was interesting that I noticed about that was like, yes, we have, we got AP5 joking about, yes, the clean lines of an Imperial spaceship is what I always think of. But also we have the scenes with Deidre interrogating Syril bitch. Also in a very white, stark environment. And then we also have in Mon Mothma's apartment, it's also very white, there's decoration, sure, but it's like very like superficial. And it makes it's like, oh, no matter where we are, the empire is always there, and you're in this like fucked up little prison no matter where you are, whether it is the literal prison or like, you know, the gilded cage that Mon Mothma's in or whatever. I was like, oh, this is very specific. Or like the ISB is its own little fucked up place. Like I was like, oh, this is very purposeful when they use the white. Which is interesting because, like, if you go back to, like, Empire Strikes Back, for example, and you look at, like, Vader's little egg or whatever, like, everything around is black, and then he goes into the, like, the stark white of the egg. Those of you who have read the Vader comics know that also, like, they built Vader's suit to purposely torture him and make him feel more pain so that he would be more powerful in the dark side. That was Palpatine's whole thing. And I just was thinking about, like, oh, even the environment where he goes to, like, be in less pain for a second, where he can take off the mask, is that, like, stark white, will drive you crazy kind of deal. I'm like, anyway, I love when all of Star Wars is consistent. I'm just saying. Because even watching it for too long of a time, I felt crazy. But I did want to talk about the prisoner solidarity and how it was like almost established. Like they had the signal thing. They had the signal that basically they had sign language. They already had networks set up, and how interesting that is, because usually you have a character dropped in, and they don't like, you know, they're the ones who instigate a riot or whatever, but like there was already forms of solidarity that were already there, and that was very interesting to me. It also reminded me of the Boiling Rock from Avatar, because that prison is supposed to be like very inaccessible. You have to fly in to get there. It's in the middle of water, and it's supposed to be like, you know, the worst prison or that kind of thing. It's not a work prison, but there was a lot of pieces that reminded me of it in a way. You know, and when we're in the Boiling Rock episodes, we have the like, they're like, oh, she instigate a prison riot, and they're like, oh, we're already friends, sure, yeah, we'll do it to start fights or whatever. What was interesting, like here we have the same thing of like they already have forms of solidarity and communication between them, despite, you know, the Empire pitting them all against each other. I just find that interesting. Anyway, shout out to Avatar.
So to pivot away, something I did want to talk about is there are two other like plots going on in this episode. One is what's going on Ferrix with Bix, Maarva, Brazo, and also Vel and Cinta are there. And motherfucker, we are going to talk about Vel and Cinta. But there's also stuff going on with Deidre and Syril, which is truly off the shits. So do we have one we want to go with first?
I need to discuss Vel and Cinta.
Okay, no, because every time I'm like, maybe it was a joke. Maybe they're not actually, you know? Maybe it's just like they're just queerbaiting me. But no. Cinta is literally like, you love me because I show you what you need to see. Like, I'm losing my mind at the express fact that they have, like, not only held hands, not only sit in a very, like, been in physically a very, like, intimate setting, but also, like, vocally expressed that they love each other. Like, it is driving me crazy.
It also, apparently, someone brought up there is an interview with Diego Luna where him and Felicity Jones are talking about the relationship between Cassian and Jin, and how he says like, yeah, he like, I don't know how he phrases it, but he's like, oh, like she loves him because he's a mirror or something like that. Like it's almost the exact same wording, and you're like, hello. And also, as soon as Vel Cinta, shout out to their ship name, was talking, they reminded me so much of Hera and Kanan. I was like, to see that they let gay people, like, I was like, this is how straight people have operated before. You know what this is like? This is like how when we saw Finn Poe and we were like, yeah, they're clearly boyfriends and they have telegraphed things that have occurred previously in Star Wars with them too. So when are they going to kiss? And then it didn't happen. And then this time they went, but they are gay. And I'm like, oh, I don't know how I can handle this one.
No, it's insane. It's truly like, I mean, and not just because of the lesbian agenda, but like they are truly two of the highlights of this show for me. Like every time either one of them is on the screen, I get like so engaged. I'm also just like, I think it's hilarious that Vela's like, okay, I did my job on Aldhani. I need to take a fucking break. Cinta, let's just like take a break. Let's just do it. Whatever. It's just like Thoreau. It's like, well, if you don't participate in society or whatever. And Cinta being like, girl, baby girl, we need to do our job.
Cinta being like, fascism never sleeps.
Yeah. It's just...
Yeah, also her calling Vel out, being like, well, you know, we can't all be like little rich girls who like don't have to, who are just running away from their families.
No, because she is absolutely Luthen's daughter, right?
Like,
yeah,
oh, this
like,
was
no way she's not Luthen's daughter.
Yeah, that moment I was like, oh, she really is Luthen's daughter. Like they gotta be telegraphing this. Like it's gotta be like.
No, because I did say it in like the first episode that Vel showed up, and I was like, she is probably Luthen's daughter, right? Like as a joke, and then it continued to happen. I was like, oh, I thought I was just making a joke because they're two white people talking to each other, but now I'm like, oh no, that I think that
the dots are connecting.
The dots are connecting.
Like a rich girl who ran away from her family.
And
Luthen seems rich.
I also saw like a parallel that someone on Twitter posted, and I hate that I can't remember who it was, but it was Vel sitting on that like transport leaving after talking to Cinta versus Luthen on the transport coming into Ferrix to like collect Cassian.
Yeah.
And it was like framed the exact same way. I'm like, oh, girlies, they are setting something up. The cinematography popped off.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy that like we have, they're like, yeah, you know what? In one fell swoop, you are getting an examination of prison labor and also lesbians. And I'm like, hold on, slow down.
Also on Ferrix, homegirl, Bix Kayleen, you are slaying. You've never done anything wrong in your entire life. I'm so sorry that the narrative continues to punch you. Also, Deidre Miro, the girlies are obsessed with her. And I mean, I think she's a girl boss, but she's like a girl boss derogatory. I think here's my
Price
thing.
would be so obsessed with her.
Because Price would hate her because she is like a woman in a field where you're meant to be pit against other women. So she would hate her so much because she has what she wants.
Yeah, but there would be a hate love situation. Like they would hate each other, but then they would kiss.
It's the thing of confusing budding respect for hatred that women often have in the workplace. Yeah. And I think that is it. But what is really funny to me is that I'm like, at least Price is camp. Deidre's just crazy.
I will say Deidre's assistant is camp. I think he's camp.
Okay, it was really camp when Deidre. None of this is camp, by the way, guys. We know we're overusing camp and using it in the wrong way. But it was camp when when Syril was like, "Please, I was really good at my job," and she goes, "Okay, can you fuck off? I'm leaving." Like that was slay.
That made me laugh really hard. He's just like, I was so good at my job. I like deserve to like be able to like work on this and like I can help you find Cassian. And she's just like, okay, bye. Forget this ever happened. And if you don't, that's not on me anymore. Whatever the fuck happens to you, go fucking cry about it. And I was just like, come on, cry, you piece of shit.
He is acting his ass off, I gotta say, because God, he's so pathetic. I want to kick him in the face.
I would love to shove a boot into Syril Karn's jaw. It's insane.
But here's the thing. He'd be into it. Like, it's clear that that's what gets him off.
So wait, no.
He doesn't like to lick boot. He wants to eat the shoe leather.
Hold on. Are you saying that Syril Karn is just so repressed that this is his repression coming out in a way, like he's
absolutely
trying to get stepped on? He's like, I'm trying so hard for someone to punish me because it's a kink.
Number one, he's got huge mommy issues. number one. And number two, he's like really into authority, and you're like, oh, you're into some weird shit.
No, because this is something where I saw this tweet, and this tweet is like, it's what I think about all the time, and it's not characteristic. I realize that it's very broadly stereotyping, so don't take this as law. But it was like, daddy issues will mess you up, but mommy issues will turn you into a psychopath. And I think about that a lot, and that is very Syril Karn.
So true. I think about that fucking tweet or whatever the fuck a lot also. It might have been a Tumblr post.
Then, after that cringe little interaction, she's like, oh, this cringe fail man. Then she's like, I'm gonna go torture people on Ferrix for fun. Deidre, girl, you're on my shit list. Something that I did think was hilarious about Deidre is it's very much, I don't think that this is the career path that she's on, but it's very much giving Callus letting Quizzy torture Kanan at the end of season 1 of Rebels.
Is this season 1 or season 2?
Is that not
season 1?
Season 1.
Quizzy's still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Vader and like all that stuff that happens with Maul is at the end of season 2 of Rebels.
Yeah. Anyway. But also, can we talk about the solidarity and like the community on Ferrix? Because the way that Bix and Brazo are like, Maarva, Cassian is gone, but we are still gonna take care of you. Like, you are still our Slay Queen.
They're like, it's not Cassian's mom, it's our mom. But also, that was a thing that
Comrade Maarva, let's go.
Literally. But I mean, I will say that was one thing I was scared that I was like, oh, are we gonna have this of like, you know, Cassian's activism coming from his community kind of thing, you know, obviously for Latino representation, all this kind of stuff. But like the fact that it wasn't just like, oh, the hero goes off and does his whole thing and never comes back. We consistently come back to Ferrix, and that there's real shit happening on Ferrix. And that the people in his community still matter, not just like to him, but to the narrative. And that we're showing like what is happening through the community and how they take care of each other. I was like, I love being pleasantly surprised by Star Wars. I was like, oh, wow, this is phenomenal.
Can we talk about some more of the consequences of the actions that happen on Aldhani? Like Cassian, you know, being brought in, and then when they go to their little barracks and they're all just like, what did they say on the outside? Like, you know, about what's going on. And Cassian kind of also having to like realize that, yeah, he helped cause this, why he's being held in this prison for way longer than he should be, and why all these other people are also being forced to be in this prison longer, is part of the consequences of them rebelling and stealing the money on Aldhani, because it was really fucked up.
No, it is like karma in real time. And it's like, I don't think that it's like, oh, he deserves what happens, but it's really interesting seeing him again. And this is a really interesting through line, I think. In the episode after the heist, we see Luthen like cheering and being all excited. And again, we see Luthen being happy because like the restrictions are rising and that's a good thing for our cause. And then we see Cassian, who was both at this heist and is now in this prison, experiencing the fallout as a person that someone like Luthen is celebrating. And again, I'm not saying that Luthen is wrong or that Luthen shouldn't be like pleased with how this is affecting his agenda, but I think it's just a really, really interesting juxtaposition. And sometimes I do worry that like, I always worry with situations like this where it tries to show like, oh, well, the revolutionary is bad, or the revolutionary is a rich person who doesn't understand the consequences. And I don't think that's what's being set up. But it's interesting because I'm always afraid of that happening. So it's very refreshing to see it being treated with way more nuance than I expected.
I think that's the big thing with this show, is that like it has the time, and it doesn't just have the time. It takes the time to have that nuance. Because I feel like, especially with Mon Mothma, when we've seen her before in Rebels, when we've seen her before in other stuff, they kind of paint her as the one who's like, not a neolib, because she's not, but like to paint her as the more moderate one or whatever. And it's like, it's not that she's the more moderate one at all, or that any of them are the more moderate one. They are all just disagree on the tactics. And it feels more realistic. It feels more nuanced. It feels more, I don't know, it feels more realistic. I mean, it definitely makes her seem like a more realistic person. At her and Saw, like, because that's a big issue with her and Saw and Rebels. And to be fair, that is these characters later on. This is at the beginning of the 5 years before the Battle of Yavin, but it's a much more nuanced take on their disagreements, or, you know, than, you know, oh, well, these guys are just more radical than these guys. And it's like, no, it's not somebody is more radical than other. It's, you know, everyone is having to make sacrifices. What sacrifices are they choosing to make? And also for Cassian, like, this is like radicalization on fucking overdrive. Just like he's experiencing, it's like another one. Like, no wonder he is hard fucking core.
And this is something else I'm just thinking of now that we're talking about it. Another, like, other people who are experiencing this live is like what happened with Pics, where she's like, we helped you, you need to come help us. And then Clea being like, Luthen, we have to shut this down. Like, this is like, not because I want to, not because I want to, like, abandon them, but because we don't have a choice right now. Like, this is too dangerous. Like, seeing those hard choices being made while also seeing, like, the consequences, like, seeing Bix in that tube, like, freaking out because she can't get through was, like, heartbreaking.
I also, this might have just been the acting in that scene, but, like, Clea didn't seem like a heartless person when she did that. She was just like, I want you to be real right now. You have put not only us, but them in danger by keeping this open. And she's like, you need to, like, not just, like, keep your eyes on, because I feel like there's always, in fiction, there's that one person who's like, you got to keep your eyes on the prize, and they're the cold person or whatever. She doesn't feel like that. She feels like she's like, you need to do what is safest for everybody, and it's not because you're a bad person. And I know it's interesting, and I think that's the piece, is like, everyone's like, oh, this is the grittier show, whatever, but I'm like, but these people, they're very human, and they seem to care so much, like, especially with Mon Mothma, like, you know, you still see how much these people care a lot, even when it's, like, supposed to be dark and gritty, which, again, that might be the acting, just phenomenal.
There's the little plot also with the ISB trying to find Luthen, or rather calling him Access, you know, being like, oh, the man who was with Cassian Andor, he's probably a central part to this growing little rebellion.
I was like,
talk about
oh,
that? Yeah.
Axis? That sounds a lot like Fulcrum. I'm just saying. I know when the word fulcrum is mentioned in this show, I will be the fan that is being serviced. I will scream, cry, and fucking throw up. I do love the fact that it's like the off-brand version of Fulcrum, because the ISB is going in the wrong direction. I just think that's funny.
What is everyone's final thoughts? I can say I thought this was like a very solid, concise episode. I think the direction was really, really good. I think the framing in this show is also really good, because, like Claudia was saying, no character in this show feels like, aside from, like, the actual villains, no one feels like a villain. And even the ones who are villains have understandable motivations, and not understandable in a way that's like, oh, I see where they're coming from, but a way that's like, I see how they got here and why they are acting like this. They're not just evil to be evil. They're evil because they hold certain beliefs.
Which is so important, because some people watch things and really don't get it. I don't know. I feel like it's really hard to talk about this show, because every week I'm just like, yeah, no notes. That was fucking phenomenal. Like, every time the thing ends and I'm like, oh, also, Nicholas Bertel, with those openings every week, I'm like, you are popping your fucking pussy with that. Like, I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. I'm just like, damn, this show fucking slays. Like, I'll say Andor and the High Republic, you are the best part of Star Wars. You are the best part of Star Wars.
Yeah, I liked it. It was slay.
I just wanted to put in a quick note here. Yes, Tales of the Jedi did also come out this week, We will not be covering it this week because Andor is not over yet. We're going to cover it like after Andor is finished, but we will have thoughts on that as well. I know people will be like, and why aren't you talking about Tales of the Jedi? We're trying to keep it focused. We're trying to keep it focused, people. We will have some dedicated time to talk about that later. But it's Andor's time. Let's appreciate him.
Are we ready to move on to everyone's favorite segment? Name that ship.
Halloween edition.
Imagine a thunderclap just there. So we're gonna do something a little bit different. Normally we'll have like one or two people bring a ship, bring a fic. I have collected an assortment of Halloween themed fan fictions, and because there's only the three of us, I think we can do this pretty rapid fire. So I'm gonna go through and read a couple for you, and you guys will have to guess. And all of these have a Halloween spooky theme to them.
Let's do it.
So let me pull up the first one that I have. Some of them are a little bit unique. But so like they're not all like, oh, ship A or like character A, character B. Some of them it's like I want you to figure out who would get themselves into this scenario. So yeah. Let's do the first one that I have here. So this is rated for general audiences. There are no ships, actually. It's all like character, just like friendships. So the relationships are character A and character B, not a ship. Character C and character B and original characters. So there's a bunch of just random guys in here. And then there's a bunch of characters that if I say any of them will give it away. But I just want you to guess like the main character who's involved in this. This is a summary. While on a quick recovery mission on an off-charted planet, something attacks the crew. Unable to see for sure what it is, imaginations run wild as this character recalls the stories of the lunar beasts that another character told them about. When character A is bitten, they still aren't sure what to think, but life returns to normal, and there is a war to win. But a mission on Mimbim months later may prove that nothing ever goes back to normal.
Is character A Thrawn?
No.
Or character B?
No.
Thrawn
is not in it.
Thrawn is not in it.
No.
Are any of them force sensitive?
This is more of like a group of people that I want you to guess. So it's like the main character who is the person who has been bitten by this creature. I want you to figure out who that is. Who do you think would go to a planet and get bitten by a creature and become some sort of spooky thing?
Okay, is it
Ezra Bridger?
It's not Ezra Bridger, no.
Is it the Rebels crew?
No.
Is it someone
Luke
from the High
Skywalker.
Republic?
It's not, and it's not Luke Skywalker, no.
Is it the 501st gang?
No, but you're really close. The 501st gang is in this, so this does take place during the Clone Wars.
Okay.
Is it like freaking Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka?
No. It's...
They're adjacent to the 501st gang, is what you're saying?
Yes.
The Bad Batch?
No, fuck no. Sorry.
Is it what, Plo Koon and the
Yes,
Wolfpack?
it's the Wolfpack. The plot of this fanfiction is that Wolf has been bit by a werewolf.
Why didn't I guess that earlier?
Yes, so basically this is a story where Wolf gets bitten by a werewolf, but no one knows if it's real. So everyone's like telling stories to each other, like being like, ooh, this is so spooky. And then Wolf's like, hey guys, you might want to see this.
Wolf becomes the leveler.
Anyway, that is my first fanfiction that I've brought to you today. So this one is rated G. It is character A/character B, Roan Land / Ferris Olin. Character A, character B, Ferris Olin, Roan Lands. Additional tags: space husbands, fluff and humor, pranks and practical jokes, bored clone troopers, Sith shenanigans, Halloween costumes, Halloween, inappropriate humor. I can't believe I wrote this. This is so not canon that I'm not even trying. Funny, alternate universe, everyone lives, nobody dies, one shot, jump scares.
Is this Cody Wan?
It is not. Do you want to hear the summary?
Yeah.
It is Halloween on Belassa. Ferris and Rowan want to continue the Belassa tradition of scaring the shit out of newly married couples, and they have the perfect idea. Jump scares. Costume jump scares. After all, Solace and her boyfriend Laius did it to them. Perhaps they should have remembered that their newly married couple of choice consists of whatever character A is and whatever character B is with an itchy trigger finger. So this is about these two characters trying to jump scare this main couple.
Is it a Jedi and a clone?
It's not a Jedi, but it is a clone.
A Force user and a clone.
Yes, correct.
And it's not Cody Wan.
Not Cody Wan.
Maul.
One is Maul.
Rex?
No. Is member of the 501st.
Jesse?
No.
Dogma?
Yes.
Wait. I just get that randomly.
It is Dogma and Maul.
Dogma?
Doll. Yeah, so it is Dogma and Darth Maul getting jump scared on Halloween after just getting married.
Why?
I don't know, but I'm kind of obsessed with it.
Maul and Dogma with Legends gay characters is so... what's going through this person's mind?
That's kind of bestie vibes.
Yeah, it's very slay, but I gotta know what was going through their mind.
I have one more for you today. This is rated teen and up. It is character A / character B. Character A, character B, 3 other characters who are not in the ship, but will immediately give it away. Alternate universe, modern setting. Halloween costume. Implied sexual content. Here's a summary. He looks at the flyer again with a sigh and laughs at how ridiculous it is all over again. A neon orange printout with heavy black blood dripping text that reads, Halloween bash, bring your own booze, with a badly drawn ghost scribbled under it. It's pretty awful, entirely Han, yet this character finds himself giving in. Han is there, he is not in the ship.
So there's one ship?
There's one ship. Han is throwing a Halloween party and these characters are going.
So there's one ship and then who
There's
are the
one
other
ship.
characters?
Han is one of them. If I give away the other two, it'll immediately tell you who is.
Are they shipped with each other, the other two?
No one else
Okay.
is shipped in this. They often are shipped, but they're just not together in this fic, or it's not important enough to tag it.
Din and Luke?
It's not Din and Luke. This is an older fic. This is a pre-Mandalorian fic.
Are they from the Clone Wars?
No.
Rebels?
No.
The original trilogy?
One of them is from the original trilogy, yes.
Lando.
Lando is character B.
Oh.
No, I'm sorry. Yes.
So it's someone with Lando.
Mm-hmm.
Who is shipped with Lando?
That's a great
Other
question.
than Han.
It's not Han.
It's not Luke.
It's not Luke. This is not a character from the original trilogy.
They from Solo? Rogue One?
They're from Rogue One.
Oh, is it Bodhi?
It is Bodhi.
What?
It is a Bodhi / Lando at Han's Halloween bash.
You know what? Slay.
I think that is hilarious.
That's so good. I need to know the backstory, but yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. The Halloween girlies. Yeah, guys, Halloween inspires so much.
Weird shit.
It's so spooky and I love it.
Yeah.
That was the last one that I have for you today.
Aw, we did it. Our Halloween episode.
Thank you all so much for coming to a very spooky episode of BOOPalp's Podrace.
Oh.
What if I read the entire outro in that voice? But anyway, for updates, Star Wars news, our reactions to High Republic Phase 2, more stuff, you can follow us at BOOPalp's Podrace on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. If you want to get in touch with us, ask us a question, you can send it to our TikTok Q&A or email us, BOOPalpspodrace@gmail.com. And if you really love our show, please rate and review it on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Spotify, Overcast. It really helps us. And may the Force be with you. And don't kriff it up. Woo!
Waka waka.
Waka waka.
Waka waka.